Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fifth grade. Your teachers this year include Mrs. Jackson, who is going to teach all fifth graders science, and she is going to teach her homeroom ELA, which is reading and writing. Mrs. Robinson is going to teach all the fifth graders social studies, and she's going to teach ELA to her homeroom. And Mr. Stahl is going to teach math to all of the fifth graders, and he's going to teach ELA to his homeroom. For those not familiar with the switches, each switch is right around an hour long, and Mrs. Jackson, Mrs. Robinson, and Mr. Stahl will switch for those 3 separate hours so they can teach their specialty subject to each of the students, each of the classes. Our promise, we do promise that we are going to treat your kids like our own. We are going to be kind, compassionate. We will do our best to meet their emotional needs. We promise to do our best to engage your child while providing them with the best education possible. We promise to keep your child as safe as possible. And we promise that even though we might not know all of the answers, we will continue to adapt in order to meet your child's needs. The curriculum this year, for ELA, we are going to use Journeys, which has been a curriculum that we have used for many years. So you should be familiar, actually, you should be familiar with all these curriculums because they're the same curriculum that is being used in 4th grade, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade, kindergarten. ELA, we are going to use Journeys, which will deal with reading, writing, and we are going to also be working with a vocabulary program. In science, we are using Inspire Science, and we are working this year on Investigate Matter, Ecosystems, Earth's Interactive Systems, Earth and Space Patterns. In math, we are using Math Expressions. Homework will be displayed daily on Class Dojo. So anytime your child says, well, we didn't have homework today, you could say, no, Mr. Stahl said page 256, you should have completed. And they are expected to bring it home, whether they did complete it or not. Therefore, if they say, I finished it in class, they can show you, look, I finished it in class, 258, here it is. You will have 8 different unit assessments this year and 3 different trimester assessments. So for example, in the first trimester, we work on unit 1 and 2. The students will have a unit 1 test when we're finished learning about unit 1. They will have a unit 2 test when we're finished learning unit 2. And then when we're finished with the trimester, after we completed unit 1 and 2, the students will have a chance to prove to me any area that they did not master with the end of the trimester test, which will retest their units 1 and 2, and it'll give them one last chance to bump up any grade. So I always ask the students and the parents, hold on to the assessments because they're a great thing to study before the end of the trimester test. We are using Math Expressions. And then in social studies, we are working this year on 3 Worlds Meet, Colonization, American Revolution, and New Nation. We use all sorts of tools from the internet, and there's going to be more than is even up here on this page. But Class Dojo is a huge tool that we are going to use that I'll talk about in a moment. And this is our way to communicate with the parents. So the students don't need to worry about having a Class Dojo account, but the parents, we ask that every parent has a Class Dojo account, and it's a way to have great communication between the parent and the teacher. We, of course, use YouTube. We use something called Think Central, which I'm going to go over here in a second. We use Epic, which is like a free digital library. We have Read Theory, which also is an online digital library and a way to assess students' comprehension. We are using Google Classroom again this year, and your child or all the students will have their own Google Classroom for each with each of the subjects. And then we are using Prodigy, and Mrs. Robinson uses something called Flowcabulary. This year, we are a one-to-one technology district officially. which means that every student has their own piece of technology, and every student is responsible for bringing their technology home and back to school daily. And this is something that the entire district is doing. It's not something that we're just doing in this class or even in the school, but the whole district, every student in the district has their own technology, and they are responsible for bringing them home, charging them every night, and bringing them back to school. There is a $25 insurance option, but I believe the form is available in the office. And if you don't want to take any chances, you want to just purchase the $25 insurance. Anything happens to that Chromebook throughout the year, the insurance covers it. So if you have any more questions about this, go ahead and you can email one of the teachers, or you can go to the office and get the paperwork. Class Dojo, as I have already mentioned, we are asking that all the parents download Class Dojo on their phones preferably, and it'll ask you if you will allow notifications, and we ask that you say, yes, I will allow for the notifications, because I know personally, I will use Class Dojo every single day to let you know what we worked on in math and any homework. And then with my homeroom students, ELA as well. And same with Mrs. Robinson and Mrs. Jackson. Google Classroom, I believe after last year, most of us are pretty comfortable with Google Classroom, because that's something that I'm pretty sure every teacher in fourth grade used last year. So Google Classroom is going to be more for the students. So Dojo's for the parents and the teacher communication, and then Class Dojo's for the Google Classrooms for the students. And we are going to use Google Classroom as a way to post, complete, turn in daily assignments. We could have class discussions on the online thread in class on Google Classroom. And it's a nice, neat way to keep track of all the assignments and a lot of graded assignments. I know in my math test, I'm going to make all Google Classroom, and a lot of the reading tests I'm going to make on Google Classroom as well. And it's a way for the communication to happen between the teachers and students. And I ask that the parents get comfortable going into Google Classroom with their child as a way to kind of go over the quality of work. So Think Central is a website, and it's also a bookmark on each of the child's Chromebooks. And you have the ability to go into all of your math and all of your journeys curriculum online. So if you forgot your book, you have your book online at home. So what does it look like? Well, this is what you do. In order to find it, if you don't go through the bookmark, any computer can go to Think Central. You search K through 6 Think Central, and then a link looks like this. You click on it, and it brings up this screen right here. You have to fill out the information. So your country, your state, the district, and then Irving Elementary. And then your username is your first name, last name, no spaces, at wbsdweb.com. And then the password, if I remember correctly, the password is learn. And if that doesn't work, email me and I'll be happy to look up your password. But I believe last year that the password was learn. Once you log in, your screen looks like this. You have things to do. So if the teacher assigns anything on Think Central, you will see it under things to do. And then you have your library. And then if you've taken any tests or assessments, it'll be in my scores. When you hit things to do, and if you have something assigned to you, it will show up on this list. If you'd like to look at your test scores, it shows up on this list right here. So this is a story that we read, and this child got 4 out of 10 correct. And then if you hit library, you will have a math option and a reading option. And all these different math materials are available to you online through this website. And we use the student activity book G5 So if you ever forget your math book, you'll always have the online version of your math book ready to look at. And then you could also go into reading, and it shows all the materials that we have in reading in 5th grade. So you can access all the stories through Think Central as well. This year, we're asking that the students bring 4 composition notebooks, a pencil case, a pencil sharpener. I don't think Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Jackson, they're not as bothered by it, but man, one thing that drives me nuts is listening to that motor on those pencil sharpeners all day long. So I ask, please bring one of these pencil sharpeners so you can just sharpen it at your desk. And then pencils, pre-sharpened pencils preferably would be phenomenal. Crayons, glue sticks, scissors. We would love it if your child brings a chapter book, one that they enjoy to read to keep in their desk. You should have a take-home folder. Disinfecting wipes are encouraged, but I don't know how easy they are to come by these days. And then we're asking that each child has their own headphones, and you can put it in a storage bag or a freezer bag. And then we do ask, please don't bring any binders because this beautiful looking fish shape is the desk, and there's a little tiny area under this desk to put your materials, and there's only limited space, so we ask no binders. And then please sign up for Class Dojo. Send your child's homeroom teacher a message. In the message, include any way we can make this year easier for you and or your child, and please send us any questions you might have for us or the school or the district. We are pumped to be your child's teacher, and we are really excited for the year. So we look forward to meeting everybody. Thank you for watching.